Our opening statement tonight is very long. Shoot it up there. Our opening statement tonight is very long. It's very involved. Will you say it with me? I glow. One more time like we actually mean it. I glow. Let's take that into our time of prayer. And I want you to imagine your soul fully on fire with the glory of God. I want you to imagine your soul glowing with all that God is within you. To feel the presence and power of God that is within you and all around you. Tonight, our only work is to practice glowing. That we are here to glow for God. We are here to glow with all that we are. To glow with the holy light of God. So in the name and through the power of the living Christ, we give thanks, and so it is. Amen. Rusty's going to come lead us into our time of meditation. Deep breath now, and just feel the presence of God.
Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel God's mighty power and God's grace. I can feel the brush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place.
So I invite you to join with me in this time of prayer and meditation. I want you to feel the presence of God that is within you and all around you. And tonight, that our only job is to glow with God. It's to glow. To be that radiant expression of the divine. To let our soul be as big and bright and beautiful as it was meant to be. Tonight, glow. Glow with all that God is. Glow. Let the world see how bright God is in you. Let the world see the power, the presence of God in you. So glow. Let all that God is be ignited within your soul and glow. Feel the presence. Feel the power. And glow. For there's nothing in your life, there's no condition, no situation that is greater than the power of God within you. So glow. That you are an eternal spiritual being. That your soul has come into form and expression to give expression to all that God is. To be a light unto the world. To let your light so shine that people see who you are and actually see God. So tonight, I want you to glow. Glow with all that God is within you. Glow. Glow. that so many times we have felt that we would be safer if we turned our light down. And yet tonight we know the truth. That every time we glow, God is at work. That the glow in me is greater than any situation or condition in the world. The glow in me is my source that attracts higher and greater levels of life. I trust the glow of God in me. I trust the glow of God in me. In the name and through the power of the living Christ, it is done. And so it is. Amen.
Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom has come, thy will is done in earth as it is in heaven. You give us this day our daily bread. You forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. You lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever.
Today we're talking about glow and getting your glow on. And the question that I have for you tonight is, when is the time in your life where you knew that you were glowing at your brightest level? Like sometimes we say women, when they're pregnant, they're glowing, or people that are in love, or maybe if you've got a great job, you feel like you're just glowing with your great job. But I want you to think of the time in your life where you felt the most radiant, the most on fire, the most alive. And what was it about that experience that caused you to glow like that? And tonight, would you be willing to glow with all that God is within you? See, one of the things that in spiritual practice that we talk about is this idea of, is it safe to be my full self? Is it safe to be my real self? Is it safe for me to be as bright as I came to be? And the question that I have for you tonight is, at some level we have to answer the safety question before we can even begin to talk about glowing. Because if you don't feel safe, would you be willing to glow? No, right? So if we don't feel safe, then we're always adjusting our light based on how safe we feel in any situation, instead of just turning it on, getting bright with God, and just letting it flow and just seeing what happens. And so tonight, what would happen if you felt safe enough to glow with all that God is in you? What would happen if you felt safe enough? Well, people might notice, and people might talk, and true. Jesus said, let your light so shine that people see your good works and give glory to God, right? That the purpose of life is to set yourself on fire. One of my favorite quotes was a 19th century minister from England who said that what he did was, I set myself on fire with Jesus Christ, and people come from miles around to watch me burn. I love that quote. I do, because there's something about setting ourselves on fire, not literally, thank you, spiritually, right, that makes a difference for everybody else. Can you think of somebody in your life who just glows? Can you think of a person in your life who just lets their light so shine that in their presence you're more courageous and you let your light shine? Tonight, what would it look like if you just popped? If you just turned your light on all the way and let people see your essence, your soul, your spirit, your magnificent, what would it look like? Let me go to Scripture. Exodus 34:29-35. Moses came down from Mount Sinai, and as he came down from the mountain with the 2 tablets of the covenant in his hands, Moses did not know that the skin of his face shone because he'd been talking with God. When Aaron and all the Israelites saw Moses, the skin of his face was shining, and they were afraid to come near him. But Moses called to them, and Aaron and all the leaders of the congregation returned to him. And Moses spoke to them. And afterwards the Israelites came near, and he gave them the commandments that the Lord had spoken to him on Mount Sinai. And when Moses had finished, there's a fly. I'm not having a flashback. I don't know if you can, I didn't know if you thought I was having a little thing with it. It's the glow. And it's so tacky if I were to swat him dead, so I'm not going to just let him be right there. Then we could just practice resurrecting him, but we're not going to do that today. That's a whole different talk, right? When Moses, sorry. That's why I try not to go off script, because it's just too hard to get me back. When Moses had finished speaking to them, he put the veil on his face. And whenever Moses went before the Lord to speak to him, he would take the veil off until he came out, and then he'd put it on again. And the Israelites would see the face of Moses, that the skin of his face was shining. And Moses would then put the veil on again, and then he'd go and speak with God. So here's the deal, right? We all have, this immense potential to be considerably brighter, more alive. Yes. And even the flies will be drawn to you. Right? So we have this ability to be brighter than we'd ever thought possible. And so one of the things that I love about Marie Howes painted this beautiful piece of work. Have you noticed it when you came in today? So beautiful. I want to get the name right. It's called, help me, Marie. It's called Held in Her Heart. Held in Her Heart, right? And held in her heart, can you see just the shining light in her? And the idea is that every time we deepen our relationship with God, every time we know more God, one of the experiences that we have is that we get brighter. And you see the little dove of peace, like this translucent dove, and you notice the red thread going through the dove's mouth? Can you see the red thread from where you are? If you can't, then come up closer. Can we get the camera on it? Maybe the camera can show it. Can you zoom right on, all the way in? See how close they can get. There we go. Now, can you see? No. Okay, never mind. I want to talk about the thread. And I want to read a poem from William Stafford called The Way It Is. There's a thread you follow. It goes along the things that change, but it doesn't change. People wonder about what you're pursuing, and you have to explain about the thread. But it's hard for others to see it. While you hold on to it, you can't get lost. Tragedies happen, people get hurt or die, and you suffer and get old. But nothing you do can stop time's unfoldment. And you never let go of the thread. See, here's what I want us to see tonight, right? One of the things that's just spiritually true is that in life, stuff happens. True? Like, stuff happens. And no matter how much we try for stuff not to happen, stuff happens. That we all have a spiritual journey here. We all have things that we're going through and experiencing. And what tends to happen is that we allow our light to be very much affected by what we feel like we're going through at that moment. That we turn it up and we turn it down, and we turn it up and we turn it down, based on what we feel like we're going through at that moment. There's a level of spiritual maturity where we begin to appreciate that when we're going through something, while it may not be our first choice, we may not even like it. We may not even want it. We may choose to pass on it completely, but we learn that that's part of life at this level. And that we keep our light on, because to dim your light in those moments actually makes that experience more difficult. Because we're not bringing our spiritual best in that moment. We're actually turning ourselves down. And what if tonight, no matter what you're going through, you just decide to glow? Because I want you to see how much spiritual maturity it is to know that stuff happens and you just choose to glow. To be the radiant center where God is. Now, imagine that you're going through something, right? Right? And imagine that when you're going through something, you turn your light down. Would that help, or would that interfere with getting through it in the greatest possible way if every time you're into something, you actually turn your light down? Can you imagine that in the moment where you need your light the most, when we turn it down, we actually slow the progress through that situation down, because in that very moment we turn ourselves down, when in fact what we could be doing or may want to try doing is actually turning ourselves up brighter to actually speed us through that situation. And yet it seems to be cultural that when we're in struggles, we go dim. True? And it seems cultural that we actually expect one another to go dim. And what if tonight you make the decision that no matter what you're going through, you're going to use it to get brighter. You're actually going to allow the brightness of your soul to lead you through whatever obstacles or challenges or problems or stuff. Because being light is exponentially greater than turning yourself down. Will you say with me? I glow with God. Will you say with me? I glow with God. One more time like we actually mean it. I glow with God. Great. Okay. So, while Marie Howe's wonderful painting, we will you do me a favor? There's a book in the green room that's like where I'm supposed to be right now. So if you'll get it, that would be fabulous. All right, so the light that is within us, does it come from our head, our heart, or something deeper? How many want to vote when it comes from our head? Nobody. Okay. Thank you. How many want to vote that it comes from our heart? A couple hearts. How many want to vote that it comes from something deeper? Ooh, you guys, the room it's so how many of you know the concept of the Kundalini? Right? Spiritually, the Kundalini. Let me read you what the Kundalini is, right? It's the primal energy, the chakra, located in the base of your spine. Different spiritual traditions teach the method of awakening the Kundalini for the purpose of reaching spiritual enlightenment. The Yoga Upanishads describe the Kundalini as lying coiled at the base of the spine, representing either the goddess or the sleeping serpent, waiting to be awakened. To the modern day commentaries, the Kundalini has been called the unconscious instinctive force or mother energy or intelligence of complete maturity. The Kundalini awakening is said to result from deep meditation, enlightenment, and bliss. This awakening of the Kundalini physically moves up from the center of the channel of the spine to the crown top chakra. Many systems of yoga focus on awakening the Kundalini through meditation, breathing, chanting, prayer. The physical term one commonly reports that the Kundalini experience is being freed, feeling the electric current running through your entire spine, right? Everybody's aware of some level of Kundalini. Now, one of the things I want you to see about this and why this is important is, does the Kundalini start at the top of your spine and work down, or does it start at the base of your spine and work up? Base and up, right? Okay. So the Kundalini energy starts at the base of your spine and moves up, right? But I want you to look at how you're doing your spiritual practice. Right? For most of us, we're doing our spiritual practice from our head down. Like we're trying to get information or understanding or something that awakens us spiritually, thinking that if we get enough information in our brain, in our head, it's going to awaken our spiritual power. Right? How many of you have ever done that? We've all done it. How many of you have ever gone to a workshop thinking this is going to be the thing that fully awakens me, right? Like the idea is, like we've had this concept that if I can get my head on right, if I can get my thinking right, if I can get smart enough, I can get spiritually smart enough, I'm going to awaken this energy, and this awakened energy is going to travel from the top of my head through the rest of my being and awaken everything. Well, unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. What the mystics have taught over centuries upon centuries of centuries is that it's already within you, right? We say that in Unity pretty much every week. It's already within you. It's already at the base of who you are. It's at the very base of who you are. And what we're trying to do is to integrate that to higher and higher levels of who we are, right? And what I want you to see is your glow is that spiritual energy that wants to awaken in every level of your being. And you being smarter may not be helpful. Right? How many of us, really have worked at being smarter, spiritually smarter, every level smarter, when you've already been wired for it? It's already at your essence. That enlightenment doesn't start at the head and go down. It starts at the bum and works up. Right? So your most enlightened place of being is your bottom. So when people say, I hit rock bottom, that should be a sign of enlightenment. Right? Because you've actually reached the place of enlightenment. Right? So here's the deal. If you get smarter, that's the booby prize. The real work is to ignite what's always been there. And to allow what's always been there to be fully expressed. that you've always had it. It's always been there. You don't develop the Kundalini. You express it. You don't say, oh, can I go get my Kundalini tuned up or supercharged? It's at the base of who you are. And you just allow that serpent to wake up. So the basis of my talks for the next couple of weeks are this wonderful little book called The Endless Practice, Becoming Who You Were Born to Be by Mark Nepo. Anybody familiar with Mark Nepo's work at all? His work is really good. His work is really good. So the book is in the, if you want to join me as I go through this, I'm going to take 3 concepts. And I'm not going to be going concept by concept, but to take 3 concepts that are in his book and let them really speak to us. This is a section called Things That Hearten and Dishearten. There are many, and while all thinking and talking keeps us from suffering loss, while all thinking and talking can't keep us from suffering and loss we encounter from being human beings, neither will all the suffering and loss keep us from the sanctity of our own presence. Here are a few fears that disenheart us and drain our energy. The fear of the unknown, that I won't see it coming, that it affects a level of distrust in our days. The fear of being undone, that the worst possible outcome will happen, and it breeds cynicism. The fear of breaking, that things will shatter and fall apart, makes our occupation of anticipating pain. The fear of rejection, that I will speak a truth and that everyone will leave. That leads us to practicing hiding. The fear of death, that the clock will begin beating so loudly, enslaves us to a sense of panic and urgency. All these fears in passing are quite normal. But when we allow them to take over our lives, they become life-draining and disheartening. Thankfully, there are intentions that hearten us into a life-affirming positions, that intentions that can help us overcome all of these fears. 1, the strength of trust. We can expand our ways by including and being surprised and deepening our feeling of wonder and curiosity. The strength of what is possible. We can imagine and spend an equal amount of time using our imagination for what might go right. Strengthen our ability to integrate pain. We can be like water and learn how to absorb what falls upon us and how we will not shatter. To shrink our habit of hiding. We can listen to its experiences as teachers and wait for an opening for truth to show us itself in a way that trees grow toward the sun. And to shrink our present and urgency of time, we can linger in the moment and try to accept our death. So here's what I want us to look at. What do you think is the number one thing that keeps us from letting our light shine? Fear. Any particular kind of fear? I'm going to suggest that it's a sense of overwhelm. That in the sense of overwhelm, we tend to recoil because we don't know what to do. Right? Have you ever felt overwhelmed? Have you ever felt overwhelmed day after day after day after day? And the problem is that what happens is we recoil. We pull into ourselves. We condense when we feel overwhelmed. And here's what I'm going to invite you to look at. We believe that life is eternal. Is that true? That we believe that life is eternal. So that we believe that your soul is literally eternal. Because it's energy, it cannot be, destroyed in any way. That your soul is eternal. Life is eternal because we actually live from our soul. So here's what I want you to see. Is that whatever happens, I'm not saying stuff's not going to happen. But whatever happens, you're eternal. You're eternal. And the more that we bring our light to our eternal nature, the more everything in life can be overcome. Then no matter what happens, you're eternal. And the more you bring your light to that, the more everything in your life gets greater. So here's what I'm suggesting. You ready for your homework? I want you to look at what are the 1, 2, or 3 things that you could do every day that would increase your glow. Right? Meditation? Probably. Right? Watching TV? Maybe not. Right? Walk in nature? Possibly. Right? Being around people that inspire you, who believe in you? Quite possibly. I want you to have 2 or 3 or 4 or maybe even 5 things in your toolbox that you know increase your light. Increase your joy. Increase your glow. And one of them maybe is joy. For me, joy is an automatic glow expander. Right? No matter how bad I'm feeling, if I laugh, I cannot keep my energy contracted. Right? The very act of laughing in and of itself for me is incredibly expansive. Right? So here's the deal, right? So you clearly heard me say today, right, that stuff happens. Jesus said, in the world there's tribulation, but be of good cheer, for I've overcome the world. Now, by his life, did that mean that he didn't have any problems? Like, stuff happened to him, right? Right? Can we just see that stuff happened? Right? So in the world, stuff happens. Right? And I promise you that your eternal soul is bigger than that. That no matter what happens, your eternal soul is bigger than that. And what I'm really interested in is how big, how bright, how magnificent can you be? Let's stand, let's sing our song of peace, and let's go have a great evening. Thank you.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Together, our perfect protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. God bless you all. Have a great night. Thanks for being here.